Hey, welcome back to OT Asset Management Weekly. We did experience some technical issues earlier, but that doesn't stop us from going live again. And I hope that the issues are fixed. So if you cannot hear me at some point in time, just put a comment in your platform and we'll try to fix the issue again. Anyhow, so this is about OT asset inventory use cases. In last week's webcast, I had addressed OT security use cases, but that's not all there is to it. There are also some non-security related use cases, which I'm going to cover today. And those use cases are mostly associated with engineering stakeholders, control engineers, process engineers, and also maintenance specialists. So what could that be? Let's just jump right into it. The first very important use case is obsolescence management. So why is that important? Well, as we all know, OT equipment tends to be a little bit outdated, or let's just say not as frequently updated as it is usual for IT. And therefore, at some point in time, you really have to worry about, well, will I be able to purchase replacement parts when that thing once upon a time actually does break? And this is something that you can determine beforehand because the large automation vendors publish their phase-out plans, their obsolescence statuses, their product lifecycle statuses. And this is something that you can see right away in OT-based inventory. So let me show you how that works. If you look at, for example, an automation system, like this one here. So here you see all the individual modules on the backplane. And for every single module, you see the product lifecycle stage in this column right here. And we are notified here by these orange entries. Well, there are two modules in there that are no longer current. So this one is end of life down here, the control net interface. So you know right away you will no longer be able to purchase any replacement parts. And then also the, what is it, the EMBTA, yeah, that's also discontinued. So this is how OTbase tells you right away that there is an issue so you might factor in that into your business continuity planning, because you don't want to be caught by surprise when that thing breaks, like that control net module, and you will not be able to purchase any replacement parts. So the other thing is, if you want to get a more high-level view on any obsolete products, what you can do is in the inventory, you can add this life cycle column. So this is about the product. This is not about the individual instance here, about the individual device. This is about the product. So for example, if I were interested in all the products that are end of life in this particular factory and on this side here, I can simply filter for end of life. And then I see all those affected products. And guess what? Here we see a bunch of those control net devices, which certainly is not a surprise. So this is how that goes. And you can also do some more elaborate reporting on this. Because in the search page, you can easily filter for end-of-life products or discontinued products. And this is done right here. And certainly the difference is to the inventory page that you have seen earlier. So this allows you a very intricate filtering. So you could pick any specific site or do it for multiple sites, whatever. So this gives you a better means of reporting. And I'll tell you what that looks like. So I've set up a search already where we say obsolete products, okay? So just in case you're new in any filter setting that you have used here in this search page, you can save that like so, and then you can just relaunch that specific filter setting by using the drop down. So it will automatically show up here, and then you get this listing of all the devices that match your filter criteria. In this case, it's about all devices that don't have an active lifecycle stage as far as the automation vendor is concerned. So you will probably have trouble buying additional additional devices of that product. Now, once that you have done that, once that you have saved such a search, it will also automatically be turned into a report without any further trouble. That's going to happen automatically. And so when you go to the reports page, you will find that entry right here, obsolete products. And the report is a little bit more feature rich than what you have seen earlier. So you would see right away your locations, your affected models. So I see, for example, we also have some Siemens products here that are obsolete. And you get a timeline. And this is rather typical. So at this point in time, somebody had taken care of a couple of those affected devices. But as you can see, it continues to build up. And this is a usual sight when you when it's about product obsolescence. Well, certainly it's going to age, and then there will be some products that all of a sudden from day 1 to day 2 are also becoming obsolete. And this is then reflected by this timeline that keeps going up. And then down here you see all the affected devices. Okay, so that is very easy to do, this type of reporting, and you can also just slap it on the dashboard. Obsolete products, where do we have it? Oh, we can do that rather simply by just selecting it and just, I should remove that. Okay, and now I can slap it on here on any of the widgets in that dashboard so that I can see it at a glance. We are still having 77 obsolete devices that we should probably do something about. The next use case that I want to show you is similar. This is about firmware that's out of date. So you see that in this example right away. Anytime that OTbase exposes a firmware version in orange, it tells you this is no longer current. And it doesn't imply that you would have to or should update the firmware right away. That's the decision is up to the control engineer. But at least it informs you, well, there is a newer firmware version available. And when you hover over such an entry, OTbase is going to tell you what the latest or current firmware version is. And in this example, it's 2.13, and we see we have 2.12 installed. Certainly, the difference can be much more dramatic, as here, where we see, for this CPU, the latest firmware version is actually 36.11, and we are running on 20.54. So that gives you an idea how OTbase exposes firmware currency or the lack thereof in device profiles. The next use case that I want to discuss is vendor product notices. What does that mean? Probably something that OT security experts or IT people are not really familiar with. Every now and then an automation vendor discovers, damn, there is a bug in that firmware version, and this could lead to an outage. This could lead to a product to fail in operation, and then they inform the customers. And the interesting thing about it is what I'm now talking about has nothing to do with OT security, nothing whatsoever. It's just about a product flaw, a bug, if you will. It cannot necessarily be exploited for malicious purposes. It's just in there waiting for disaster to happen. So you have a problem at your hand that doesn't require a hacker or threat actor to actually materialize. And this is something that control engineers are very aware of. Now, the problem is, the automation vendor usually sends you an email. Hey guys, we have discovered a problem in that particular firmware version or product version, so you should probably consider replacing it. And they don't tell you about any CPE or something that you could then use to automatically identify the affected products. And unfortunately, this used to be a very laborsome process to process those vendor product notices in order to identify, am I affected and where would I be affected? Now, the OTbase simplifies this and makes it much more efficient, because you have seen earlier that very complex search page, and you can use that to your advantage. And I've prepared an example right here in the reports. This is about a product notice from Rockwell. So if you are a Rockwell user, you will probably have seen that notice. Otherwise, you can search it rather quickly, because it's 2023-04-002. There was a problem in Studio 5000 Logix Designer in versions 31 through 35. Okay. How do you know if you are affected? Well, again, in OTbase, that's very simple, because you can filter for those specific versions. I have done that already here. You remember how that goes in the search page. You select those specific versions that you're interested in, then save the search and using the managed search function. And this gives you automatically this report here. So this is going to show you right away which devices are affected, where you actually have those product versions installed of Studio 5000, and then you would most likely want to do something about it. And those product notices, again, they're very, very important, because excuse me, I need to show you the screen again. So this is how that report looks like. Rockwell product notice, Studio 5000, Logix Designer, versions, blah, blah, blah. And OTbase tells you right away where the affected machines are. So you have that in 5 minutes. And again, so this is very important, because if you don't update those versions, if you continue to use it, you will run into problems without any hacker being necessary, without any exploit. And this is not even limited to some bugs that might then result in an outage. It might also be safety relevant. So the vendors will also send you some safety alerts, because those bugs can have safety implications. So therefore, they are very, very important to process. If you're a control engineer, you know how that game goes, and you will probably also know, this can be very time consuming, because you have to figure out if you are affected and where those devices are, should you be affected. And this is where OTbase really shaves off hours and hours of your valuable time. So very important use case. And I just imagine that IT people are not really familiar with that area. And this is just another example where a comprehensive OT asset inventory really goes a long way and makes you so much more efficient, because you don't have to waste your time figuring out, going through. This is how vendors such as Rockwell imagine you would be doing this. You check the labels on the package, where the versions are in the manufacturer date. That sometimes is important to identify the affected products. Well, guess what? OTbase automatically reads the manufacturer date from the device. You will see that in OTbase inventory. So this is a huge time saver, and this is basically, I would say, the most important value proposition of the product. It's going to make you so much more efficient. You're going to save so much time. OTbase does not come with artificial intelligence. No, it's just it makes you more efficient in your natural intelligence, right? Because those typical workflows are getting so much. You can get those finished so much quicker. This is basically the fundamental value proposition, and that would also extend to OT security. OTbase on its own, it doesn't make your installation more secure, but it helps you as the engineer or IT security professional to make it more secure, and it just speeds up the results. So the next thing that I want to show you is also for engineers, control engineers, is IP address management. Very mundane use case. So let's go to the inventory and into the networks inventory. Hey, we got a network inventory, and this is super important. This is something that you don't see in a lot of products. So OTbase knows about your networks, and therefore you can also use it for IP address management, because it also has this tab here, reserved IP addresses. Look at that. And here you would see right away, 10.10.51.129 is reserved for a new quality control system by this guy named Ralph Flaner. So I should not use that IP address. It would not be nice. Ralph would hate that. So this is like the global table where every engineer would see right away, no, those addresses are taken. But here is the kicker. The address alone would not give you much. So just imagine you would see, well, 192.168.0.12 is reserved. Yeah, in which network? So you will most likely have a dozen of 192.168.0.0/24 networks. So this is super important, and this is something that OTbase maintains for you, because you look at this right here, you see the network, in this case the network name, and you see the location of that network. And anytime you want to see more details about that network, you would do a double click like so, and then you see all the details about that particular network. So we're talking layer 3 network. And it shows me the location, it shows me the address list, and guess what? There is a reserved space, reserved IP address space from 25 to 29. I've seen that already down there, 25 to 29. And these are the details, okay? So here I can also up here, the address space, reserved IP addresses. This is reserved for the vibration monitoring. And I could even look at the topology if I had to, but it just makes me aware, no, don't use those or Ralph will be pissed. He has reserved those addresses. So it makes things very transparent. The other thing how you could access this is in the quick search, you enter your IP address like 10.2.28.25. So if I just wanted to look that up rather quickly, this would also tell me, it's reserved. You see that right here. It's among the reserved address space from this guy in that particular network. And it's about the new vibration monitoring system. So, important use case for control engineers for their network management. Next use case is for process engineers who want to identify critical bottlenecks in the process, dependencies, etc. And funny enough, this also extends to OT security, because it relates to the question, what is a critical system? And the reality is that in some cases, it's not so simple to identify, because you might be unaware of the various process dependencies. So, I mean, let's face it, we are talking about cyber physical systems, and the criticality is usually not associated with the data, but with the process implications. And sometimes engineers are not even very much aware of all those dependencies, because nobody bothered to document those properly. And this is where OTbase comes to the rescue. So what you can see here is how you can model your process dependencies. This is for a simple bottling machine in food and beverage, where you can see the material flow and you can see a couple of other dependencies. So here you can see the trays coming into the pelletizer, etc. And well, this is also fully interactive, so you can just expand or collapse the various subsystems using your mouse. And this helps you to identify those bottlenecks and those dependencies. And again, this is very important for business continuity planning, because sometimes you just miss critical system components because they might appear to be very trivial, very mundane. So think about support systems such as vacuum or an ice maker. And OTbase helps you to identify all those dependencies, and based on that, to understand where you probably need to introduce redundancy, or where you would want to boost up the reliability and resilience of your OT networks, okay? Because if you have identified such a critical section, such a critical machine, then you would want to make sure that this machine cannot go down because you're using a cheap network switch from Best Buy. And that might just fail eventually, and then the damage could be rather huge. So the last use case that I want to show you is OT asset health tracking. What does that mean? Have you seen that like Windows PCs breaking down because of hard disk failures, or memory consumption, CPU consumption, just resource exhaustion? I bet that you have seen that, because in OT, frequently we are using old systems. Like you're not running the latest and greatest. That Windows box that you're relying on might be in that building for, I don't know, 20 years. It's not the latest and greatest, so resources might be at the limit. And this is something that OTbase will show you. And I'm using now our web page in order to also guide you to additional information should you be interested in that topic. So if you go to our web page, and then you see a solutions column right here, and then if you click on engineering and maintenance, this is the page that you get, and you are also going to see the asset health tracking here. So this is how it looks like. For a Windows box, you will see all kinds of different metrics, like the CPU consumption, the memory consumption, storage space that is left on your hard drives. You see, and it's not, if you have multiple hard drives, there all of them are exposed. Any hard disk problems that you can see down here. So this hard disk down here is now is broken. Okay, and this is exposed by OTbase, you will also receive a notification about that. But certainly the idea is that you will be able to identify these issues before they result in an outage. And so anytime that there is a deviation from a healthy status, you will see that on the events page in OTbase, and you will also get a notification via email. Same thing with memory exhaustion, CPU exhaustion. And this is about the reachability, network reachability. So in this example, we can see up here, well, this guy is really experiencing some network issues because this orange color tells you it was offline. It could not be reached for an extended period of time. And then it was intermittent, then it got up again, and then now it's down again. So this gives control engineers very important information about the health of their assets, and they would most likely use that to their advantage to prevent any outages that might be caused by network issues or might be caused by resource exhaustion. So this is what I wanted to talk about today, and I think maybe the most important takeaway, in my opinion, would be if you had thought about OT asset inventories mostly or exclusively in the context of OT security, well, think again, because there are so many super important use cases that are completely unrelated to OT security. And if you want to learn more about those use cases, go to our webpage or just ask your fellow engineers. Just ask your control engineers, process engineers, maintenance specialists, how they would want to use an OT asset inventory. And most likely they will point to those exact use cases that I've shown you. And all of those are addressed in OTbase. So thank you very much for your time. See you next week, same place. Bye-bye.